primarily because I'm an existing town councillor, and also because I'm already involved in planning as chair of the planning committee, so it seemed a natural progression to go on to seeing what we could do to bring planning more down to a more local level with more local involvement, because it seems to me that democracy is really failing people at the moment, and that we need to go right back to the roots and enable local people to have a lot more say.
Right now we've got a few projects in Lewes we are working with, and I felt I could be a better person to reflect the future, you know, through the youth program that I'm working with. But then I'm thinking also, because of the increase of migrants and people from other cultures coming to Lewes, I felt like we should have an input on the way the future of Lewes needs to look like.
This is Lewes being given the opportunity to say how Lewes sees itself in 15 to 20 years' time. And it's important that residents of Lewes, and we're saying community as a whole, because it tends to be quite parochial, Lewes, doesn't it? That Landport has an identity, Neville has an identity, Morling has an identity. We have to bring it together and produce a neighbourhood plan which all of Lewes finds acceptable, and into which as many Lewes people as possible have had input.
Well, this film is about chalking up the benefits for Lewes. And Chalking Up the Benefits is a project that is part of the South Downs Way Ahead Nature Improvement Area Partnership that's been funded by the government for the last 3 years. And what the project is doing is it's raising awareness within Lewes about the benefits that Lewes, its residents, the community and its local economy get from the local environment. And one of the partners that Chalking Up the Benefits is engaged with is the Lewes Neighbourhood Plan. And the Neighbourhood Plan is about planning for the future of Lewes. It's looking at giving the community a voice in what the future of Lewes will look like. It gives people from within the community the opportunity to have a say about how land is used and managed. And that's why, for Chalking Up the Benefits, the Neighbourhood Plan has been a really interesting partner group to work with, because basically Chalking Up the Benefits is looking about what our landscape does for Lewes, and the Neighbourhood Plan is also all about how the land will be used and managed.
Few people are familiar with an ecosystem approach, yet it is likely to be fundamental to the success and sustainability of any neighbourhood plan. So we needed some sort of way of helping get the ideas behind the ecosystem approach over, and to help people to engage with the approach and start to take it on board for themselves. In Lewes, this was done via the Nature Gain Going Local workshop process developed by Lewes and Ouse Valley Economics. It helps participants to put themselves into the landscape and experience the benefits it provides, as well as distinguishing the different benefits coming from different types of habitat. There are 12 principles to taking an ecosystem approach, and the Nature Gain Going Local workshop process demonstrates all of these. The workshop is focused on a large map of Lewes and the 5 kilometres surrounding it in all directions. The map is used to help participants identify and visualise the benefits that different parts of the local landscape provide, and who uses or relies on these benefits.
A welcome from myself and Andrew. We're part of Lewes and Ouse Valley Economics Group, and that's a local community group which is raising awareness of the benefits that we get from natural systems to our local communities.
At the end of the day, you are going to know what benefits we get in the local community from the local environment. You're going to know how local enterprises use those ecosystem services. And you'll also have started thinking about how we can make our communities more resilient, a process of adaptation to the changes that are ahead of us.
So the first part is doing that. You will become, as a group, that part of the landscape you select, and you will brainstorm for 10 minutes, discuss amongst yourselves, write down as quickly as you can on a piece of paper all the benefits that you can think of that are coming from that area to you as an individual, to your community and to your local economy. And then write those up on post-its, stick them on the map, and we'll end up with hopefully a whole smattering of benefits on each of the areas that you select. And basically what I'm saying is that we're taking what's called an ecosystem approach, which is recognising that humans, with their cultural diversity, are an integral part of ecosystems. Now, obviously, the neighbourhood plan is looking to enhance community well-being for the future. That's the whole idea, is to try and get a plan that comes from the grassroots that actually involves people locally in looking at what they want for their neighbourhood. If you're thinking about Lewes and the river going through it, it's really not possible to do it without thinking about the catchment upstream, the whole catchment, and what the benefits that catchment and the way it's managed actually provide, particularly in terms of the flood resilience for Lewes, where there's the bottleneck of the urban area. And similarly with the lower Ouse floodplain down to the coast, where with sea level rise, with climate change, and with the tidal element anyway, there's a massive influence of the dynamic of that river.
There's animals grazing in woodland, so that's one thing. And there's a lot of amenity for woodland. There's walking, there's camping, there's cycling, there's horse riding. People are really enjoying this place. There's wildlife and biodiversity, very rich in biodiversity. Artistic inspiration, it's a place where people go to be contemplative. There's timber for all sorts of uses, not just to be appreciated, but for fuel. It can make jobs, can be used for coppicing and construction. It's a spiritual resource. Woodlands are a spiritual resource. It's a place where people can be with nature and be at peace.
We had a lot of discussion about sheep and cows and what they do for us. What do they actually physically provide us with? Is it meat, very nicely flavoured herby mutton? Fibre, not quite sure about that, whether they're actually used for wool. But they're also part of our sort of heritage, our history. They also make the landscape what it is because they graze the grassland and preserve the chalk grassland.
These ecosystem services are not just happening, for the benefit of the scientific community. They're happening for real people who live and work here. One of the things I've found is that there's a nice school here in Lawton. There's the Lawton Primary School, just there. Right, is that primary school using any of those ecosystem services? Up here we've got in the woodland, we've got timber, beauty, exercise, recreation, farm, food, climate regulation, and under the cultivated land here we've got some food crops, again the nutrient cycling, the erosion control. Those ecosystems are producing those services. Is that school using any of those services? Well, which ones is it using?
Climate regulation.
How is it using climate regulation?
Well, it's benefiting from its, environment.
Right.
In terms of rain control.
Right, so even if those kids don't go into that woodland, they're still benefiting from the service that woodland is providing.
And an ecosystem approach is recognising the value of the benefits that we get from our environment, from our landscape, and actually giving those equal weight with the social considerations and the economic considerations, which very often are higher up, given bigger priority than the environmental values. And that's often comes down to the ones that the benefits, the ecosystem services that have a financial value, those tend to be recognised, those tend to be visible. The ones that don't have a financial value are often not recognised, but they may be actually even more valuable to Lewes, to its residents, to its community and to its economy than some of the ones that do have a market value.
Tranquility and the landscape and the views that you get that people want.
I would say that there's quite a crucial distinction here, because I'd say that the views and the peace and the tranquility, those are genuinely services, benefits coming from the environment. The tourism is actually an economic human construct that benefits from those issues, and I'm picking that up because it's quite crucial to try and break those things down. They're important, but it's a question of, are they really a result of the...
I think they are, because the cultural history that comes from all the Charleston people, etc., is there because they found it tranquil and lovely, or they wouldn't have come.
Right, but that's leading to, it's the service is actually the thing that comes from the environment.
We selected the Victoria Hospital and we decided that everything promotes psychological or physical health, which is why we are, the spider in the centre of its web there.
Because all the threads came into the middle, so we got a week to illustrate it.
And we weren't surprised, because we've all been thinking about this for quite a long time.
Right. Now, the neighbourhood plan is focused very much on Lewes, on its centre, and the boundary is quite constrained around Lewes. It's actually the town boundary. But if we're looking from here, we can see a fantastic landscape with a whole range of different types of landscape environment within that. And those different landscapes are used in different ways, they're managed in different ways, and as a result we get different types of benefits from those different types of land use and land management.
What we can see is that the landscape in which we're living is alive with all these connections, right? We've only mapped connections with 4 different enterprises. If you imagine every enterprise, every household, now this entire map would be covered in those strings. We are living within those connections. Here we are, all these people up here, while this stuff's going on. Right? This is happening around us. It's not just abstract concepts, ecosystem services, reports from the UN. This is stuff going on as we speak, outside these doors, inside this room.
That is what the film is trying to show. It's showing the fusion between Chalking Up the Benefits as a project and the neighbourhood plan as something that's happening in Lewes, driven by the community, and looking to the future of Lewes.
Everything in the past has been developer-led.
Right.
Oh, let's build some nice houses here. Let's do this there. That's developer-led. Now let's look at Lewes-led.
I mean, of course, there has also been local government-led, but again, that tends not to be coming up from the community. It tends to be a larger authority.
It tends to be cascading down.
Looking at the big picture and saying, well, this is where Lewes fits in, this is what Lewes will get. But I think communities all over the country have had enough of that. They don't want someone up there to say, this is what you'll get. They want to say, this is what we want. This is how we want our community to be going forward. This is what we want for our children and our grandchildren.
Yeah.
I mean, it is about future generations.